Welcome back to Cynthia Untamed. This is your youthful and educational channel where we have conversations with and about children and young people in Africa. Welcome back to Cynthia Untamed as usual, and do tell a friend to tell a friend. Our episode today is me going back to school. Okay, you guys, I don't know how long you've been out of school. Probably you've just finished your KCSE. Probably you've been out of school for ages and ages. Well, for me, it hasn't been that long. I graduated from the University of Nairobi School of Law in 2018. And this year, 2021, I am just about to begin the Kenya School of Law, which is required of me so that I can become an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I'm very, very excited. Today's 15th of, oh my goodness, guys, I'm forgetting the month. Today is 15th of May, and we are starting classes on 17th of May, and I'm very, very excited. So I've taken this last couple of days to prepare, to just prep for next week so that I can start off on a smooth kind of level. And I also wanted to take you through the journey. So first things first, if you are preparing to go to the Kenya School of Law, these are the units that you'll be required to do. There are 9 of them. One is ATP 100, Civil Litigation, ATP 101, Criminal Litigation, ATP 102, Probate and Administration, ATP 103, Legal Writing and Drafting, ATP 104, Trial and Advocacy, ATP 105, Professional Ethics and Practice, ATP 106, Legal Practice and Management, ATP 107, Conveyancing, ATP 108, Commercial Transactions. Now, maybe you're curious what ATP means. ATP in full is Advocates Training Program, and basically this is the program that you do at the Kenya School of Law, which is based in Karen, and you are taught how to be a lawyer, specifically an advocate. When you do your Bachelor of Laws degree, you are a lawyer, but only until you do your Advocates Training Program at the Kenya School of Law do you become an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Now, you may have seen those lawyers who wear the wigs and the suits and the gowns. My friend graduated just the other day, or the word is not graduation, she was admitted just the other day, and that's how they dress. As you can see, that's how they dress. Don't you think it's really, really amazing? So excited for my friend who finished Kenya School of Law successfully, which makes me feel very inspired to start, because at least I know one person, 5 actually, but I know at least one person who passed the ATP exams. Yeah, so those are the units that you will be required to do. That is what is stated in my admission letter, of course. Now, this program for us is going to be virtual because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So they are very sure that at least term 1 will be virtual. The ATP is usually divided into 3 terms: term 1, term 2, term 3, and at the end of each term there is something that is expected of you. So term 2, you are required to do orals. I'll take you through the journey when I do that. Term 1, you're required to do group work, where you're divided into groups called firms, I believe of 15 members, and you get to do your work together and submit. And then the last term is when you do the bar exams that is administered by the Council of Legal Education. Now, I got a couple of books because, guys, if this thing is going to be virtual, I better be prepared. So if you're going to do this program virtually, I'd encourage you just invest in books. You really don't have an option, because I remember when I was doing my Bachelor of Laws degree, I was able to use the library. There was no COVID-19 pandemic then. The library was very, very accessible. And also because Bachelor of Laws is pretty wide, you get to study concepts from different parts of the world. I really didn't struggle when it came to case laws, because all I will do was just type in case law and contracts, and I'd get these different websites that would show me where to get the case laws from the UK, the US, from Kenya. But now this is Kenya specific. Of course, when you're doing law, you use laws from all over the world as long as they're landmark cases and they're recognized. But now when it came to Kenyan specific books, Kenyan context specific books, I believe that's going to be very difficult to find online. Although we will have access to the online library, but I also prefer to just have a couple of books with me. So first things first, if you ever do this program virtually, or if you ever decide to buy a book, these are the books that I got. Let me show you. So for civil litigation, I got this book called Concept of Civil Procedure in Kenya by Emmanuel Kiobika. That's the book. Then for criminal litigation, there's this book called An Outline of Criminal Procedure in Kenya by P.L.O. Lumumba. For probate and administration, I got this book called A Case Book on the Law of Succession by W.M. Musyoka. For legal writing and drafting, I got this book, this small book called Mastering Legal Research. Then which is just part of legal writing and drafting, not really like everything. Of course, I'll need to read different sources. Then for trial and advocacy, for trial and advocacy, I believe the person who was selling the books told me that they'd get it later on for me, and then they'd tell me when it was available. Then there's one for professional ethics. This one, Professional Ethics, A Kenyan Perspective by Tom Ojienda and Katarina Juma. Then there's Legal Practice and Management. I was told those are divided into two. Accounting comes later on in the year. Then so there's this one, Accounting for Lawyers by Mary Kimari. Then there's Legal Practice Management by Mary Kimari as well. Then conveyancing. There's conveyancing and commercial transactions. I believe for conveyancing, I believe I also need to get a book later on. Then for commercial transactions, there's this book called Principles of Commercial Law by K.I. Laibuta. And then there's this other one, it's pretty wide, A Handbook of Company Law, still by K.I. Laibuta. Now, I'm trying to figure out which of these two is conveyancing, but I do believe that the two of them are for commercial transactions. I'll figure it out as I go. And then there's for professional ethics as well, there's this one called The Ideal Lawyer by Ambrose Otieno Weda ESQ. I don't know what that means. I'm going to have to do a bit of research. Then a former student recommended a book called Kenya Advocates Training Program, ATP 9-in-1 ATP Summary Edition, with oral questions and answers and sample exam questions and answers. So basically this is just a summary of all the units. It's just a summary of all the units that you're doing. Yeah, so I'll figure out as I go which books I really need to read, where I need to focus on as I go. This is just the weekend before I start the Kenya School of Law. Then I also needed to get exercise books, because where are you going to write your notes? Where will you write your notes? I don't know about you guys, but as for me, I am just very keen on having enough books. I do not want to struggle, but I also like to keep myself organized. When I'm reading and writing, I need to take notes somewhere, and also when the lectures are going on, I also need to take notes. So I got these exercise books from Kartasi, of course. Then I just covered them. I made sure to make sure that they are very, very neat. And for the textbooks as well, these books are not cheap. I can tell you for sure. Law textbooks are never cheap at all, at all, at all. Never, ever, ever, ever. So make sure you take care of them. So what I did is that I made sure that I had them covered. I made sure that they're very neat, because I like neatness, and I also want my books to stay for long, because I'm going to be in this profession for life. So I cannot just throw away the books. This is not high school where you get rid of your books. This is a higher level of study, so you need to keep your books. So I covered them. Then I also got this book. Rather, it's a notebook. I've had it for a while. I just got it from the office. It's written UNICEF. I guess it's a phone book, but what I'm going to do is that I'm going to sort of use it as a planner, because I also need a plan on how I'm going to be reading. I need to know how I'm going to divide my day. If I have 9 units, I need to know what time I'm reading what time I'm waking up, what time I'm sleeping, just to plan around my education. So I really need that. And I know you can use Google. You can use a lot of apps online on Google to plan yourself, but I'm still just a little bit old school, because I really want to write it down and see it and figure it out and adjust and make notes. That's the reason why I got the physical book. But of course, I do know that you can do this online. I mean, everything is digital these days. Then for stationery, I made sure that I have enough stationery, because what I've also been doing is researching on effective reading methods. And of course, I'm going to show you later on as I go how I'm reading. But what I know is that I need, at the beginning of this academic year, I need to read very intensively, read all these books and read all other sources that will be recommended. I need to find a way of reading all that right now. But as I head towards the exam, I cannot read everything at once, because what I'm aware of is that these exams are done, like today you do litigation, tomorrow you do the next paper, like that. So that means that I won't be able to read everything at once. So what I want to do right now is plan myself and read a lot right now, at least in term 1 and term 2, and outline where are the key words, where are the key sources, what are the key summaries, what exactly did the lecturer say, read this specific part, make sure you know all these things. So I need to find a way of outlining that. So I want to make it simpler, and what I'm going to do as I read is color code. So I got a couple of highlighters. To help me do that. A couple of highlighters to help me just highlight. I'll figure out how I'm going to code, but I know, like in law, you have case laws, you have current affairs, you have definitions, all those things. So I'm going to find a way of color coding, just so that I can make work easier for myself as the term goes, or rather as the academic year goes. Then I also need to note the key pages, or what are the key pages that I need to read. So what I did is that I got this, they call them post-its, but I've always known they're called sticky notes. So I got the sticky notes, post-its, whatever you want to call them, so that I can just mark the key areas, or rather what are the key points on that page. Then to also help me mark the key pages, I also have this arrow pointed post-its. I'm going to show you as I go along how I'm using them and how I'm color coding what I need to color code. I'm just trying to read effectively, because the challenge that students have is that you read so much, and then when you go to the exam room, you still don't know anything, and you wonder, why is it that I read a lot and I don't know anything for this exam? So I'm trying to avoid being in such a situation by trying to figure out the key points. Of course, for term 1 and term 2, I'm going to read very, very widely. I know the Council of Legal Education does not say this is what you read, so this is what we'll test. They can test anything from my understanding. So that's what I'm going to do. Then I also got a couple of pens just to help me color code as well. Yeah, the pens will help me to color code. Now, I wouldn't recommend this brand because what happened is that I found that there are 10 of them, but only 7 are working. So I'm quite disappointed, but I'll just make do with them. So one end is sharp pointed. Then the other end is also sharp pointed, but a bit bigger. So I'll find how I'm going to work around them and know which side is for what, which side is for what, and highlighters are for what. Then, of course, I have a ruler and pens and a calculator. Although my friend told me that I'll only need this towards the somewhere from the middle of the year or towards the end, but I just got it. This is the Casio calculator. If you went to the Kenyan education system, this is the calculator we used to use in high school. It's 1550. Depending on how my life goes, I don't know if I will need it for the rest of my life, but anyway, I'll just keep it. And if somebody needs it or another edition comes out, I can always give a high school student to use it, so no loss there. Then lastly, I got some flashcards. Now, I don't know what your study method is. I know in Kenya we have this thing called Mwa Kenya where you summarize notes, then you start reading. But I also got flashcards just to also kind of write the important points down. So if I'm reading from this book, then I put it on the flashcards. Then maybe this is what I can be using just to revise. You know, those last minute revisions that you do just before you get into the exam room, or when you're commuting to school and you're in the matatu, maybe this is something that I can use. So I just bought them, then I'll figure out how I'm going to use. Then lastly, of course, I'm going to put them in this bag. It's a zipper bag. It's more like a pencil pouch, but just a little bit bigger because I don't want my things falling all over the place. So I'm just going to keep them here. Yeah, I'm a very organized person. Please do not feel overwhelmed by all this stationery. I know what matters at the end of the day is what is in your brain, but to each his own. I guess you really need to find ways of making your study very effective, knowing that this is not your Bachelor of Laws, this is your advocates training program. So of course it's much more intense. So this is my way of organizing, but you can find your way of organizing. Do not feel overwhelmed by all these things that I have. I'm just trying to find my way around this thing. Now, the other thing I know, which works across all exams from KCSE to university, is that lecturers usually repeat questions, or rather examiners usually repeat questions. So my friend is going to give me a couple of past papers and just a few things that she thinks I may need. Not she thinks, she knows because she passed the exam. So she's going to give me those and then I'll be able to use them to read. What I'm also waiting for is the course outline. I'm in a WhatsApp group where they've sent dozens of course outlines, but I can see they've been written academic year 2019-2020, and we are in 2021-2022. So I'll see how next week goes and see if the lecturer sends new course outlines. Then I'll just print them and then I'll use them. Okay, so that is me prepping for next year. Next year to be admitted as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, God willing. I am starting my advocates training program journey next week from the 17th of May 2021. I'll do the coursework up to February there, and then hopefully we'll do the bar exams in March. So do stay tuned, keep following the journey, and if you are a person who's pursuing the Bachelor of Laws degree, stay encouraged. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. I am here. Ask me any questions you may have on the Bachelor of Laws degree, and we'll keep going along this journey as we move. Wish me all the best.